Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name is Soleil and I garden in a Zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and it is absolutely gorgeous day out today. It was beautiful yesterday as well. So today I thought I would take you around and take a look at some of the things that are growing in my garden. I've got a lot of plants outside. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here by putting many of them out before our last frost date, but I think it's worth it and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Let's get going. So today I brought out my lobelia and they are in my little mini greenhouse, and I even brought my tomatoes out and put them in there as well as my pieris because it is 78 or 80 degrees as the high today. Can you believe it? And then just look at this lovely grouping of plants that I was able to put together into some pots out here. I am just loving being able to sit on the deck and enjoy this scene. Now, if you watched my last video, you know I dug up some mums and I have planted these into some little pots to grow on. I have some bunny tails grass over here. We have some neon sedum. We have some Potomac orange, not foxglove. This is the snapdragons. We have pansies, and we have the geraniums that I have grown from seed, which I have potted up into bigger pots. We have the heath or the heather. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's a heather. And some more violas that I grew from seed, and plenty of geraniums. And this is a mystery plant. If you guys know what this is, please tell me. This was something that popped up in my seed tray indoors when I was growing. So I thought I would grow it on and see what it was. I'm guessing maybe it's a gomphrena, but I have no idea because I've never grown that before. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know in the comments if you recognize this plant. Now over here we have the Diamond Rose hydrangea, and you can see it's putting on some amazing buds right here. The leaves are coming out. And that is happening on many of the plants around my garden. And then we have some of the Potomac Pink Royal snapdragons that I've placed around this as well. And those should be just fine because, you know, it's not supposed to get, real cold in the next 10 days. So that's great. Although I did notice that next Monday it's supposed to snow, which is crazy. Not supposed to be that cold though. So here we have one of the... Let's see, this is the Anna's Red Hellebores. So I have potted these up so that I can see these out my sliding glass door, and they are just beautiful on either side here of the deck. So I am loving that addition. And then over here, I am having a little bit of a tabletop garden happening with some veggies. We have some kale over here. We have some little gem lettuce and some iceberg lettuce, and we have some beautiful pansies in this big bowl that I got from Costco, and then some more of the geraniums that I grew from seed. And then I have some little solar lights that I got last year that are on this tabletop that just light it up in the evening. Isn't that a cute little vignette of veggies and pansies and geraniums? Then over here, I got a present from my mom. She bought me this beautiful urn for my birthday. Isn't that gorgeous? And then I have this pretty hydrangea that some staff at work got me for my birthday as well. So I think those two go together very nicely. Now over here in these two pots, I have put in the Potomac Orange Snapdragon as well, just over in each one of the corners. And that will add some height to those containers. And I had to cover up my violas because I have a very small, well, he's not that small, but he's a juvenile groundhog that comes into the garden every day pretty much, and we have to kind of chase him out. So he was eating my violas and I had to get them covered up. And then we have some more violas that are out here that he can't reach. But he did manage to get into my parsley patch over here, which was looking oh so delicious until he ate all of the tops off of it. So I've now covered them and put in a landscape staple because he actually removed the cages from off the top of them and then went ahead and ate them. He was very motivated for them. And we have some scilla with the irises. And then we have some more lettuce down at the end here planted out. We have some romaine, and I think it's called Butter Crunch is the other variety. So that's looking really good. We have lots of green onions that are growing on. And then along the edge of the bed, I have stuck in the soil some cuttings of some arborescens, some hydrangea arborescens variety. So we'll see if those root out. I don't know if it's going to be too hot. That will be the interesting thing to see whether they dry out or not. But you can actually see if you look back behind this hydrangea, on this trellis we have clematis, and it is already starting to green up and send out leaves. It's pretty incredible. We're also seeing leaf buds all over. Beautiful shrubs around the garden. This one is the Amber Jubilee 9-bark, and just look at how the new foliage just glows on that one, especially in the sun. Then at the base of this shrub, I did end up planting some daffodils that I moved out of the potager over here into this side garden, because I thought, well, these will just probably be very beautiful and fill in some gaps while we wait for the catmint to really flesh out. And this is the Persian blue variety, as well as some cat's pajamas. They're very, very similar. The Virginia is starting to bud up, so it's going to put out some beautiful pink flowers. And this is a evergreen perennial, and we'll have to come through here soon and clean them up, because as you can see, some of the old foliage has gotten brown and crispy from being exposed to such cold over the winter. But I definitely see a lot of beautiful blooms forming in the center of so many of these. So when I get these cleaned up, that's really going to help those blooms to shine. Then we have some more gorgeous daffodils right here, and back behind that, some more clematis that is starting to grow. And of course, this gorgeous Marina sedum that we have. Isn't that a pretty color of bluish purple? I'm working on some sweet peas, or not sweet peas, these are snap peas. And you can just see the green peeking through the ground here. So I planted those about 2 weeks ago, and they're starting to come up. So that's really exciting. Now over here, we don't have a ton of activity, but you can definitely start to really see the outline of these barberries better as they begin to push out their leaves. And then we have some really cute blue scilla at the base of those, along with these gorgeous daffodils. I think these might be the Del Nasha variety, but to be honest, I bought a whole batch of mixed bulbs, so I'm not sure what every single one of them are. And you'll see that as I got them out of the bag, I did try to sort them so they were with like bulbs, but if they're not blooming, you really can't tell exactly what they are. So there are some plantings that are a little bit mixed in terms of the varieties, and I don't know if that will drive me nuts or not. We'll see. These are the coralberry bushes, and I have trimmed them up, and this is their 3rd year, and so I think they're really starting to take on a nice bushy form. They had been a little bit slow to grow on here, but now I feel like they're really taken, and this year they are going to shine even better than last year. One of the varieties of daffodils that I have throughout the garden is definitely the Ice Follies daffodil. This one I think is just gorgeous. It has a really nice frilly center with a lemony yellow in that corona, and it's just beautiful with the white petals and soft. So I love that one, and you'll see that a lot throughout the garden. I'm going to turn over here to the half moon garden and show you what's coming up here. We have some gorgeous hyacinths. These are purple, and you can just see they're really starting to come up compared to last week. I mean, they are just pushing through the soil vigorously. And then the beautiful glow of the daffodils. This is such an exciting time of year, you guys. All of the colors are just that much more vibrant, right? And you see the greens coming out on the privet here. That is just such a nice, lovely limey green. And I'm just going to take us down to the end and look back at these daffodils, because Many of them are actually facing this direction this is the south. Oh, there's one of my resident bunnies right there. You see him? You know, I don't know where you're hiding right now, but you really need to just move along, move along. I guess we'll come over here and look at this garden bed. Go under the fence, little bunny. He's so cute. Don't eat my flowers though. Anyways, this garden bed did not have any daffodils last year, and I just think it is gorgeous this year. We have quite a few different kinds. We have these beautiful white ones that have the frilly orange center in them, and then some that are more of a yellow with the orange center in them. I mean, they are just absolutely gorgeous. I love bright colors this time of year. While I don't like them quite as much in the summer because it just makes you feel hot, but in the spring, to me, we're coming out of so much gray and brown that these pops of bright color just are such a relief to my eyes. So we have lots of lungwort coming up in here. It's looking really good. I can't wait. We see some buds that are starting on the plants all throughout them. And these hydrangeas are really looking amazing. The leaves are definitely coming out quite strong already. Over here we have more lungwort that is coming up. Oh, there's the bunny on the other side of the fence. I see you. And then over here I planted the Pennies Pinks Hellebores. Aren't these gorgeous? I think these are just the right color for this area. And then we have some of the bleeding hearts that are coming up between them, and the colors are so complementary. That green with that kind of purplish blue pink tint. I just think they complement each other and echo so well, don't they? We do have some hostas that are planted in here, and I'm just going to kind of watch and see how the hellebore plays with those hostas and whether some of the hostas need to come out. They are just the green and white variegated kind that are kind of placeholders for me. They're not my favorite. So we'll see what it looks like after they come in and make some decisions at that point. But so beautiful. I'm so glad I was able to get these. Now, these new hellebores that I got that I showed you, they are all sterile varieties, so they will not reseed the same as the Hellebore orientalis that I showed you that I have. So these are spot on pulmonaria, and we have our Pieris still looking beautiful. And some of the top blooms didn't look that great after I planted it, but next year I anticipate we'll get more of this beautiful drapey pearl look from these white blooms. Isn't that gorgeous? I love those. Now you can see right over here, this is where the rabbit's nest was. So I'm not sure that they're coming in and out of that anymore. I don't know exactly where they live, but maybe they could be. I see lots of rabbit fur in there. I thought I'd get a little creative with this area because I was like, hey, this is a ground cover. I can plant into it. So I'm going for a little bit of height here, and I added in 3 foxglove in here that I took out of the potager garden to make more room for veggies. So I'm looking forward to seeing what those do this year. And then just look at this gorgeous walkway here. I thought I had planted snowdrops in here and that they didn't come up, but I was wrong. I actually planted these beautiful scilla. And don't they look gorgeous all along this walkway? Just these perfectly little blue flowers. So, so pretty. Now over in this garden bed, we actually have on the south side of it a hyacinth that is beginning to open. Very blue. Lots of hyacinths will be coming up soon, and then there will be a really large hosta that comes up in this area as well following these. We have also some alliums in here. I believe these are either Schubertii or Christophii, but I'm not sure which. We'll know when they bloom for sure. And then we have some gorgeous hellebores here. These are by Monrovia, and these are called Pink Frost. These have a really unique look to them, if you ask me. The foliage is just definitely a very different color, and so is the bloom with that red and pink. It's just very soft. They kind of start out more ivory and then they age to this deeper color. So pretty. I love the new varieties of them, and I love the foliage on them. But it is a little disappointing that you can't get them growing from seed. That's okay, I have plenty that do that. So this pathway is looking really nice and tidy, if you ask me. Things are starting to grow in a bit. We can see the heucheras starting to pop up a bit. And over here on the left side, this is one of my favorite spots in the spring garden. Just look at that beautiful pulmonaria. This one is the pretty in pink variety, and you can see it begins by blooming pink and then it begins to fade into this gorgeous violet purpley blue before going away. And then I've interplanted some daffodils in this area, and I think that's a really neat contrast. So we have some nice leaf buds on this oak leaf hydrangea. That's getting ready to bloom. And we have some new daffodils that are planted back here this year for some spring interest. And here is where I planted the charmer. This is one of the Christmas roses or Lenten roses that I failed to show you actually in my video on my Hellebore haul. I don't know how I missed this one, but this one is super gorgeous. It's a little bit darker and the blooms are quite large. So let me show you with my hand how big they are. Again, this is one of the new varieties with the outward facing blooms. That is sterile. We have an Annabelle hydrangea back there that is leafing out, and the dogwood is starting to put on some nice little buds as well. All sorts of wonderful spring activity going on. And over here we have the Heaven Scent, which is grown probably 2 inches taller since we last looked at it, and I think it looks so pretty amongst these tulips here. And then in both of these garden beds we have the little Haughty hydrangea, which is planted in amongst the foxgloves there, and the one in the center right here. So those are panicle hydrangeas that were new last year. And here's where our Dana Dulcet Hellebore got planted, right next to this Ice Follies daffodil and in amongst the geraniums, so it looks like it's been there kind of forever. Down over here we have the Queen of Hearts Brunnera, and I'm probably going to divide this one in half because there's such a really nice spot that I could cut that in half and split it before it gets too big. I have taken the support post off of my weeping spruce here, so it has hardened off over the winter, and its nice spike up above it is going to put out some new growth this year. I see lots of buds where new candles will form, so that's really exciting because I really like that, and I'm looking forward to having a little bit more of the evergreen presence in that garden bed. Now I have scattered the scilla throughout these garden beds, and they do reseed, so then you start to see them kind of popping up in various places. But I also will say that many of the tulips that I planted this last year have been dug up by the squirrels and replanted in places that I did not plant them. My azalea over here has plenty of buds on it, and I'm super excited about all of the buds on this Cirsus canadensis. You can see the buds are red and raring to go. They're just so swollen along the sides of that tree. The variegated catchfly is always a nice luminosity in this garden bed around the boxwood. And then my favorites in this garden bed right now are definitely the pieris. I mean, just look at that stunning. This is just like that Scarlet O'Hara that I showed you, except these are called Valley Rose. And they have a little bit of pink in their bloom, but they still have that same beautiful drapey effect that is just opulent, if you ask me. I'm just gonna fill in this hole. Something's been digging there. It's that time of year where the squirrels are digging up all of their nuts that they stored over the winter time, right? Over in this corner, we have some cute little tete-a-tete daffodils. They are just the little tiny mini ones next to a little lime hydrangea. And it's getting close to time for me to take the cages off of the tulips. I've taken a couple off today, but they are definitely have their buds almost to the top of the tulip leaves. And then we have this is a limelight hydrangea back here, so that one's gonna get nice and big, and it's got some wonderful leaf activity going on. We can see some daylilies down here, and another diamond rouge hydrangea. We have quite a few panicle hydrangeas throughout the garden. And then these are chives, the spiky onions that give us a beautiful purple lilac tinted flower in early spring. So those will be blooming soon, and that will be just lovely. Also in this garden bed, the Toscano barberry back here is starting to put on its beautiful colored foliage. And we have lots of daffodils starting to bloom in this bed as well. Quite a few of those that I believe are the Dalna Shah variety. I think those are really pretty. And in the back we have a quick fire hydrangea. We have some clematis that are going to come up this trellis. We have a Diablo 9 bark, or it might be fireside. It's a fireside 9 bark. And then this Eden climbing rose. So you can see that the color is just starting to really come together now. Look at these beautiful limoncello barberries. They actually are almost fully leafed out now. And then above that, something I am very excited about. This is going to be its third full year in the garden, is this gorgeous viburnum. And this is called Opening Day. And it's supposed to have flowers that are the size of baseballs. And I think I see a whole bunch of buds on it in between the leaves this year. Last year, I believe we got one flower on this bush, as well as on the other viburnum that I'm going to show you. And I was disappointed. But I think this year we're going to get quite a few, so I'm super excited about that. Please don't, freeze or frost and kill off the buds, right? That's the only thing that could get in the way this year. Back here we have the double play spirea. This is the red, or double play doozy red spirea, and it has those beautiful red leaves that are starting right now. It's such an intense color. And I'm loving how this blue spruce sedum is creeping forward just like I wanted it to through the rocks in the front of this garden bed. It really helps to hold the soil back, hold the mulch in, and just help soften that edge of the garden and kind of make it all meld into one from the garden to the rocks. Here are some more of those beautiful daffodils. Now over here by the fountain area, I did plant up these 2 urns with spilled wine weigelas. I don't know if they are coming back yet or not. I can't quite tell. They are only hardy to a zone 4, so it's questionable because I'm in 5B. But I did plant them up with some pretty pansies, and I think that looks lovely. And we should get some blooms on this azalea soon. And hopefully in this next week we'll get the fountain open and running. That always brings such a nice ambience to the garden. Everything's looking good in this garden bed and coming along well. These incredible hydrangeas are really leafing out already. We can see some of the Roseanne geraniums back there leafing out. We have little pasque flowers that are coming up here with their fuzzy little heads. And even a pink hyacinth that's blooming. Now, a new area in my garden that I want to show you today, and pardon the mess, you guys, you know, this is springtime, so there's stuff everywhere right now since we have some nice weather. This is my little primrose alley, or at least that's what I'm calling it right now, because it is just chock full of color. And I've had some primroses in there, but I just got some new ones. This one is called Ballerina Ocean Blue, and it's a double blue primrose. So I think that one's super pretty. And we have some in here that I have had planted for several years, and they're coming back and flowering. But this one is a new one. I think this one is called an oak leaf primrose, oak leaf yellow pickety primrose. So this one's very different from many of those that I've seen before. It has kind of spiky leaves. And then another one that is a little bit different from the others is this lady or red giant primrose. So this one stands up and has long stems in comparison to some of the others. And then these are the baby maple trees that volunteered themselves. These are the Japanese maples, so I have planted them up in these pots to grow on this summer. I also have some wonderful dahlias that the tubers are starting to sprout. This one's just barely starting, but this one has quite a bit of activity on it already. And we have this mini greenhouse full of the gorgeous bunnytails grass and the ranunculus. And this dwarf cherry tree is putting out its leaves like crazy. We have another little hottie hydrangea in this pot with some of the ranunculus potted in it and the neon sedum. And this pot has some Angelina sedum along with a PG hydrangea. Over by the fountain we have our allium bulbs that are coming up. Those are looking like they're going to really do something. I don't know about this Let's Dance Can Do hydrangea yet. It definitely has lots of growth towards the base, but not as much at the top. So this is a serrata hydrangea, which is more like a mountain one, and it's a reblooming type. So if we don't get blooms on the old wood this year, it's supposed to at least get blooms on the new wood. So time will tell. I have not had much luck with the large leaf hydrangeas before in the past, but this one is supposedly one of the toughest and strongest ones, so we're going to give it a go. Here's my forsythia, which is just getting ready to burst. I'm probably going to see blooms tomorrow. And let's check out what we have going on in the front garden. Okay, on the side of the house over here we have a snowball viburnum. This is the eastern one, and this one has lots of green on it, so it'll be interesting to see if this one puts on a flower show this year or not. But definitely at the base of it we have this azalea that has buds all over it, so we're going to get some blooms on that for sure. And can you just see how those daffodils are glowing in the light? Sometimes I don't know how well things come across on camera, but it sure is pretty right now as the sun's going down. It's just a picture of spring, isn't it? I like these ones that are yellow with the orange in the center. I mean, I like them all. But each one is so unique and different that I just enjoy having the different varieties to look at. Now, back in the back trough there, we have rhubarb that is growing on. Just its beautiful crinkly leaves. And this crabapple is beginning to get leaves, and so is the one behind us over here. So things are leafing out pretty early right now because of this extreme, heat for this time of year, and it's an extended period of time. This is another double play doozy red. Let's look at that foliage. Isn't that amazing? Such an intense color. And this garden bed is just full of daffodils. I just stuffed it full. Most of them are all the yellow variety, but there are different yellow varieties that are within here. Some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger. Some of them have larger coronas, some of them have smaller coronas. And then the black lace elderberry, you can see the new growth is starting to push out on that. I'm really hoping we get to see some blooms on that again this year because those were fantastic last year. Now up front here in the mailbox garden, we have so many of the Ice Follies daffodils. Just look at all of those. Now we've had winds gusting up to 35 miles an hour today, and so some of them are a little bent over. And with that wind and the heat, it definitely stresses out these spring bulbs. But this is chock full of scilla. Again, I just planted some of this scilla about 2 years ago, and it has self-seeded all over in this garden bed. The front sun bed also has quite a few daffodils that are in bloom, but there's still lots that are coming up. And that's because we're actually on the north side of it, and this garden bed stays not quite as warm as some of them. So depending on how warm the soil is, often makes a difference in how quickly the garden wakes up. But the orange rocket barberries are putting out their leaves, so you're really starting to see that form and shape of the vase habit that they have growing. And believe it or not, this weeping cherry is probably 2 weeks ahead of time in terms of putting on its blooms. I think it's going to bloom either tomorrow or the next day, which is definitely early. It's weird because some things seem like they were way behind, and then all of a sudden with this amazing warmth and sunshine, everything has just exploded. Now this is an Allium caritavense. This is the most beautiful foliage on an allium that I know of. And so I have lined these last year along this garden path. And inside you'll see the bud. These put on, I would say a fist size bloom that is a light pink. And they are just so, elegant, I guess would be my word for it. We have some at the base of this oak leaf hydrangea as well over here. I got inspiration for those from David Culp and his cottage garden at Brandywine Cottage. He has a really great way of putting things together in the garden with an amazing artistic touch, and some of the plants that he picks out are different than what you might see on the market otherwise. So we have lots of green foliage here. These are all Allium Purple Sensations, so we are going to have a show this year for sure. And lots of daffodils on this side that we didn't have planted last year either, so the spring interest in this garden bed has definitely picked up this year. I'm really happy with it. Now heading over to the front shade garden, I want to show you where I planted a couple of the other Hellebores that we got. So I did plant up the Moonshine Hellebore, which is in the back there. And then in front of that, I planted the Paris in Pink. And the Paris in Pink is one that will self-seed. So this one is not sterile like the other varieties. And these Hellebores have really all opened up this week and filled in, and it's just so delightful to see all of these. And this one is just so full and robust. I can't wait to divide that one and get more of that around the garden. Maybe in about a week or two I will divide that. The flowers are almost done blooming. We still have some buds left on it, so I'm going to wait for it to finish. But once it does that and they start to harden off a little bit, that's when I'm going to come in and give them a dividing chance and spread some more around the garden. These are more ice follies daffodils in here. And we have the deep red foliage of a euphorbia, unknownst type. I don't know what type it is here. That was given to me by a neighbor years ago. And then we have some Virginia that I planted last year along this edge, which I hope to continue to spread along this edge because I do think it makes a really nice edging plant, and it is pretty deer resistant. And then it really does look like we're going to get some blooms this first year on this viburnum. This is also the opening day viburnum. In this little raised bed, we did plant the rosemary, which is looking a little worse for the wear right now, but it does have some green on it, so I think a good trim back is in order once the weather is stable. And then we have this beautiful variegated sage plant, which will also really fill in. And both of these are deer resistant, and so are these alliums. These are the drumstick alliums I have planted along the edge. I'm thinking about planting some of my ranunculus there. And in this garden bed, we have some beautiful daffodils that have not yet bloomed because it's north facing. These are mostly thalia type, but there's some other ones that we planted last year as well. So next week we'll probably have those in bloom. And then we have a beautiful dainty lime green foliage on this spirea. And I'm hoping for some pretty blooms on this because they should have some nice white blooms soon. Well, that does it for today's tour, guys. I hope you enjoyed walking around the garden to see what's waking up, what's in bloom, and how spring is happening over here. I hope you guys are getting some nice weather there and getting out into the garden. Let me know what you're seeing. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.